How often does somebody get on our nerves and then our whole day is shot? It's like we can't seem to smile. We can't seem to work well with others. We can't seem to move past the thing that just happened. We can't seem to move past the words that were just said. We're so frustrated and playing the situation over and over and over again, so much so to the point where we can't focus on anything else. And it might even lead us to a place where now we have stopped treating others with love. We've stopped being the person that we know we truly are on the inside. We stopped being the person that God created us to be. This is very common, and this happens day in and day out. I experience it often. It is such a hard fight, but on today, I want to encourage you to allow that love, that kindness, and that loyalty to be so much so a part of your character to the point where nobody can rob you of it. Let's talk about it today on the Larger Than Logic podcast. And so, as you all know, emotions and how we feel, it can be so volatile. It can go up and it can go down. It is so difficult sometimes to get ourselves to take a step back and recenter after somebody disrespects us, after somebody does not consider us, after somebody oversteps our boundaries. And sometimes it can be so much so to every single plan that we had seems to be a non-factor because we cannot mentally move past what just took place. We could have had a whole list of things that we wanted to accomplish and do, but we are so irritated and so annoyed or so saddened or depressed by what somebody said or did, by a situation that took place, that now we don't have the energy, we don't have the motivation to do anything. Sometimes we can be so consumed with vengeance and so consumed with getting somebody back that we're willing to throw away everything that we've worked so hard for and built, that God has blessed us with, solely because we want to show somebody that they cannot get the one up on us, that they can't do what they think they can do to us. And it is so difficult and so toxic inside. It's such a hurdle to be able to climb. But I was reading in Proverbs chapter 3. And this began to cause me to reframe completely and totally how I view these concepts of loyalty and of love and of kindness and of forgiveness. And I like to read it first. Let's read it first. In Proverbs chapter 3, verses 3 through 4, I'm going to read the English Standard Version. I think it's a little bit more relatable. It says, "Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart." Now, when I saw this at face value, I began to take it as though it's referring to just how I move in love, how I move in faithfulness. But we always have to remember, because the Bible, or at least this portion of the scriptures, and honestly all, but specifically this portion of the scriptures, was not originally written in English. We have to go back. What did it mean in the time when it was written in that Hebrew, when it was in that Hebrew tongue, when it was written in that Aramaic? What did they mean by these words? When you do a word study on the words for kindness and loyalty, they have similar undertones. You see what they're talking about, what Solomon is talking about right here in Proverbs when he says faithfulness and love. All he is saying is that the love that you have is not just a superficial love. It's not just a feel-good love, but it is the intentionality to be kind and caring towards another person, to have that other person's best interest at heart, even when it does not benefit us. It is the desire to see somebody else win, even if that means that in this situation, we might have to lose a little bit. It means wanting to see somebody else elevate, even if that means that we stay exactly where we are for a second. Even if somebody does us wrong, we have enough love, not just for them, but for God, to allow them not only grace and mercy, but also enough love and kindness to try to push them closer to where God would have them to be. And then when it comes to that loyalty, or when it comes to that faithfulness, being willing to be consistent, being willing to consistently show up, being willing to consistently be in the place and moving and shifting in the space for God's glory and for the benefit of everybody around you. regardless of what anybody says, regardless of what anybody does, regardless of anything that comes or goes. And why is that? As we see, it's because when we have this around our neck like a chain, when we write it on the tablet of our heart, it becomes a part of our character. It becomes a part of us, so much so to the point that no matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody does, no matter what falls on the face of the earth and in our path and in our life, we are faithful. We are loving. We are kind. We are just. We are consistent. We're not going tit for tat with people. We're not trying to go back and forth with people. We're walking as God's kings and queens on this earth because that's who he created us to be. And we've made a decision, regardless of what anybody else says or does, that we are going to follow this suit. And on today, I like to just encourage you with that, is that we need to allow this love and loyalty to be so much so a part of our character to the point that no matter what anybody does, it cannot be shaken. We need to be relentless in this. It is not because of anybody else, because we already know. We see it day in and day out. There's going to be inconsideracy. There's going to be individuals who will do things that will make us feel small. There's going to be individuals who are not going to respect us the way we deserve to be respected, or we feel we deserve to be respected. Somebody's going to cut you off in traffic when you were trying to get off on that exit. Somebody's going to try to cut in front of you in that line at the grocery store. Somebody's going to say something slick to see if you're going to say something back. Somebody's going to try to make you the bid in front of your friends. If y'all don't know what that means, that's DMV slang, just meaning somebody's going to try to make you look lesser than in front of somebody else to try to make themselves feel better, or for whatever reason they do it. Family members may not treat you the way you're supposed to be treated. They may talk about you behind your back and scandalize your name within the family or the friend groups. They may mistreat your kids. They may mistreat your siblings. They may laugh at you when misfortune comes your way. Friends may not treat you the way you're supposed to be treated. They may lie about you to the rest of the friends. They may lie and try to steal your money. They may try to piggyback on your successes only to try to surpass you and push you down and kick you to the side once they got what they need. People from the beginning of time have been, for lack of better words, janky. People from the beginning of time, including ourselves, because it's not just other people. We do the same thing sometimes, right? We're not always at our best. One time my uncle told me that a person is only as good as their mental state at that point in time. Sometimes we go through seasons. Sometimes it's people's lifestyle, but at least seasons we go through where we make decisions and we treat people in different ways and we act in different ways that God would not be pleased with. And honestly, we don't want to be a part of our character, but that's where we were at that point in time. Knowing this, it is all the more important that we allow ourselves to have the type of loyalty and the type of love that is relentless, that is going to stand no matter what anybody says or does. Why is this so important? It's so important because when you're raising kids, your kids aren't always going to say the right thing. Your kids aren't always going to do the right thing, but it's still going to be your example that's going to show them how to move and how to react when the right thing isn't said and when the right thing isn't done. When they grow up and they're beginning to react to situations, they're going to emulate your reaction. Do you want that to be a reaction that God put inside of them through you? Or do you want that to be a flesh-led reaction that's only going to lead to more destruction? Your spouse is not going to say the right thing to you all the time or do the right thing. And every decision that you make in terms of how you react, what does that do? It either is going to encourage more trust or it's going to break down trust. The people who you are discipling are not always going to make the right decisions. As humans, our flesh is weak. We might go back to bad habits. We might make detrimental decisions that not only affect them wrong or in a malicious way, but could also fall back on us in malicious ways. But how we react to these things is not only showing our relationship to God, but it's showing other individuals how to walk. And if we're not in our word and we don't allow it to what's the word we're looking for? If we don't allow it to strengthen us and allow us to have a relentless love and loyalty that transcends the human condition, we're putting ourselves in a place where we cannot be used by God in every season. And so on today, I want to encourage you, allow that love, allow that kindness, allow that willingness to sacrifice yourself for the well-being of others, to sit inside of your heart, regardless of the season, regardless of the situation, regardless of what anybody says or does, because it is at that point when God really can use you in every single season, regardless of the situation. It's so important. It's so important. It's so important. Shoot. I think that was pretty much what I had. I could talk more about it, but I think you all get the idea. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to belabor it. I just had to get that off of my heart, y'all. I find myself constantly battling with this. And it's not a battle for wanting to see others do well, but sometimes it's just a battle of what that looks like, right? Sometimes that looks like, to me, being the leader, just setting the example and letting everybody else do whatever else they want to do. But I also realize that just doing the thing, but also not having that patience to explain, can leave somebody feeling left behind. And then sometimes I see that it is more of an empathetic position, right? Where I'm putting myself in somebody else's shoes and attempting to walk by them to display this love and kindness and loyalty. But sometimes when you slow down too much and you allow yourself to sit in the space with somebody for too long, you sometimes lay down your crown. Sometimes you put your hat down and you find yourself in a position where you're no longer being the example that they needed to see how to get themselves out of the situation that bad decisions might have put them in. And that's why it's so important that we rely on God's Spirit to show us what we need to be and when. We can't always just make the decision in terms of how this is supposed to look, but we can always submit ourselves to the cause of being loving the way God told us to love. Not even just right here in Proverbs through Solomon, but as he has said throughout the entire scripture, from Matthew to 1 John to Ephesians to Philippians chapter 2, in terms of putting others above ourselves. We have to get ourselves to a place, and I just want to encourage you to allow yourself to get to a place where we can just sit in that love, y'all, when we can really, really sit in it and rely on the Holy Spirit to show us what that's supposed to look like in each season, what that's supposed to look like with each person, what that's supposed to look like when this is said and when that's said, what that's supposed to look like when this goes wrong and when that goes wrong, because things aren't always uniform. Things don't always go the way we intended, but God never changes, and his ability to show us exactly what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it never changes. And so on today, let me encourage you to allow that love, allow that kindness, and allow that loyalty to be so much so a part of your character that nobody can strip it away from you, no matter what comes, no matter what goes. My name is Avery Taylor. You are tuned into the Larger Than Logic podcast, and I'm so glad that you have allowed me to be a part of your journey.